You have been trying to escape the wrong thing. The suffering you spend your entire adult life avoiding is not the obstacle. It is the mechanism. And the moment you understood pain as something to be removed from your existence, you guaranteed a life of slow, psychological deterioration, disguised as comfort. What you are about to understand will not leave you the same. Friedrich Nietzsche identified this pattern over 100 years ago, and most men still cannot face what he wrote. He saw that suffering is not punishment. It is not random. It is not something inflicted upon you by an indifferent universe. Suffering is the precise pressure required to forge a self that can survive its own existence. You have been raised inside a culture that has reframed every form of psychological discomfort as a problem to be solved. Anxiety must be medicated. Loneliness must be cured. Boredom must be filled. Restlessness must be silenced. Every uncomfortable signal your psyche generates has been pathologized, labeled as something defective rather than something functional. And you believed it. You believed that the goal of a well-lived life was the elimination of suffering. You believed that comfort was the marker of having arrived. You believed that the man who avoided pain most efficiently was the man living most successfully. Nietzsche understood something darker. He understood that suffering is the sculptor that makes you visible to yourself. Without it, you remain blurred, a vague outline of a man who never had to define his edges. Examine the mechanism below carefully. Every meaningful capacity you possess as a human being was built through some form of suffering you tried to avoid and failed. Your ability to delay gratification was forged through hunger you could not immediately satisfy. Your ability to focus was forged through boredom you could not escape. Your ability to love was forged through loss you could not prevent. Your ability to face yourself was forged through silence you could not fill with distraction. The man with no suffering history is the man with no psychological depth. He is not happy. He is hollow. He has never been pressed hard enough by life to discover what is actually inside him. And so, what is inside him is mostly nothing. This is what Nietzsche meant when he wrote that what does not kill you makes you stronger. Not the cliché your generation has reduced it to, not a slogan for resilience. He meant something far more brutal. That suffering is the only mechanism by which a self comes into existence at all. Without resistance, there is no muscle. Without darkness, there is no contrast. Without pain, there is no self capable of bearing the weight of its own life. You have spent decades engineering your existence to avoid the very pressure that would have built you. Look at what you have done. Every time you felt anxiety, you reached for the phone. Every time you felt loneliness, you reached for the social media scroll. Every time you felt restless, you reached for the substance, the food, the entertainment, the noise. You did not face the discomfort. You did not let it speak to you. You did not ask what it was building. You silenced it. And in silencing it, you silenced the only voice that could have told you who you were. The truth ahead will not be comfortable. It is not meant to be. Most of what you call your personality is actually just a sophisticated avoidance pattern. The optimism is a defense against the despair you cannot face. The constant busyness is a defense against the silence you cannot tolerate. The need for approval is a defense against the rejection you cannot survive. Strip away the avoidance patterns, and there is no personality underneath. Only a frightened animal that has spent its life running from the very experiences that would have made it real. Schopenhauer saw this before Nietzsche. He understood that suffering is not the exception in human existence. It is the structure. Pleasure is the brief absence of pain, not its opposite. Every desire fulfilled produces a brief satisfaction, followed by a longer emptiness, which generates a new desire, which produces a new suffering, which produces a new pursuit. The wheel turns endlessly. The man who tries to escape it by chasing more pleasure only digs himself deeper into the cycle. Nietzsche took this insight and pushed it further. He saw that there is a way out, but not by escaping suffering, by transforming your relationship to it, by choosing to interpret your suffering as meaningful pressure rather than meaningless cruelty. This is not positivity. This is not reframing. This is the cold recognition that your suffering is going to occur, regardless of your wishes, and that the question is not whether you will suffer, but whether you will become someone through it, or remain someone the suffering happened to. Most men remain victims of their suffering for life. They tell the story of their pain over and over until the story becomes their identity. The trauma, the loss, the betrayal, the collapse. They wear it like a uniform. They build their personalities around the wound. They become the man who was hurt, and they stay there forever, because the wound has given them something to be. Nietzsche understood this as the most pathetic form of human existence. The man who organizes his life around what was done to him. The man who treats his pain as proof of his importance. The man who never asks what the pain was meant to forge, only how to ensure everyone knows he carried it. You know this man. You have been this man. Below is the dynamic operating in your life right now. Every difficulty you currently face is performing a function. The relationship that is failing is exposing a pattern in you that needed to be exposed. The work that is unfulfilling is revealing a self-betrayal you have refused to confront. The loneliness that haunts you is creating the silence required for a deeper voice to emerge. The anxiety that grips you is signaling that your life is misaligned with something essential. You are interpreting all of this as malfunction. It is function. The suffering you experience right now is not happening to you. It is happening for you, but only if you have the psychological courage to ask what it is constructing. Most men never ask. They simply try to make the pain stop. And in making the pain stop, they make the construction stop. Nietzsche saw the man who refuses suffering as the man who refuses life itself, because life is suffering, not exclusively, but essentially. Any attempt to extract the suffering from existence extracts the meaning along with it. The two cannot be separated. They were never meant to be. There is a particular kind of man who has understood this. You can recognize him by his stillness. He does not rage against difficulty. He does not collapse under it. He does not pretend it is not happening. He receives it. He examines it. He extracts what it is teaching him. And he becomes someone the previous version of himself could not have become. You are not this man. Not yet. Possibly never. The reason you are not this man is not that you lack the capacity. The reason is that you have spent your entire adult life refusing the apprenticeship suffering offers. Every time the universe pressed you, you ducked. Every time life tried to teach you something, you reached for distraction. Every time you were given an opportunity to develop psychological depth, you optimized for comfort instead. And now you are middle-aged or approaching it, and you do not know who you are. You do not have a self. You have a collection of preferences and grievances. You have a list of things you are good at. You have a curated identity, but you have no center, because the center is built through suffering, and you have been refusing the construction your entire life. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this from a different angle. He understood that the obstacle is the way, that what stands in your path is the path itself. The Stoics did not tell you to enjoy suffering. They told you something more useful. They told you that suffering is the raw material from which character is built, and that complaining about the raw material is complaining about the existence of the building. Most men complain about the existence of the building. They want the man without the construction, the depth without the descent, the strength without the suffering that produces it. They want the result without the process. There is no such thing. What surfaces below has been operating in you for decades. Every attempt you have made to engineer comfort has produced a thinner version of you. Every painkiller you have taken has muted not just the pain, but the signal the pain was carrying. Every distraction has not just deferred the suffering, but interrupted the development the suffering was attempting to produce. You are not the man you could have been. You are the man you settled for becoming when you decided that comfort was more important than construction. This is the verdict Nietzsche delivered to those willing to hear it. Your life is not a problem to be solved. It is a fire to be walked through. And the only question that matters is whether you walk through it or spend your existence trying to keep it from touching you. The men who keep it from touching them are not safer. They are not happier. They are simply less alive. They have purchased their comfort at the cost of their souls. And most of them never realize the trade has been made until it is too late to reverse it. You still have time, not unlimited time, not even much time, but enough time. If you stop running from the suffering that is trying to forge you into something coherent, the suffering will continue regardless. That has already been decided. The only question left is what comes after.